a few hours' time, the iRacing VRS GT World Championship will move to Road Atlanta. But first, you can warm yourself up with the International GT3 Championship, round number 3 of the season from the same circuit. Some drivers are going to be using this as a test session, as a warm-up for the upcoming Pro Series race, and well, it's going to be an exciting one that's going to be coming your way on the RaceSpotTV. But first, Jack Styles, Johnny Simone, and Hugo Luis on the cameras, bringing you all the action from a short and tight circuit. And Johnny, I know you're not really an expert in GT3 machinery, but I am sure that today is going to provide some great action, as GT3 racing always does.
Yeah, I hope so. This will be a good warm-up for the championship later on. You can see track details on screen, 4.06 kilometers. A couple of overtaking spots here, turn 6 and 7 there on the left-hand side of the screen, that little hook. And then you have the end of the the long straight, actually, the back straight at turn 10. A downhill braking zone. Pretty easy to overshoot that corner just because it is downhill. There's a lot of bumps there as well. And we know the car choice as well. A lot of BMWs, Mercs, Audis here today. A couple of drivers, though, switching to the McLaren and taking a bit of a risk here for the rest of the championship. Only one car switch allowed.
Indeed so, one car switch, and the only person taking it so far has been John Peasnick. Championship standings up on your screen at the moment. Carlos Diego is having a good run at Solder. He currently leads the championship by 1 point from SRT's Kenny Roos, and Ross Rizzo, the first Australian driver, and he is currently in third. Rest of your position up on the screen. Qualifying is currently coming to a finish. Checkered flag has flown. Drivers have got around 30 seconds to finish off their lap. Only one driver left out on circuit. That is Carlos Dieguez, although I have a feeling that the 20-minute qualifying session is now over. So in around 30 seconds time, we will take you down to your starting grid. 1 hour race for you today, and your starting grid can be shown as follows. Ricardo Ferreira for Follow Me Esports going to be lining up on pole with Griffin Gardner alongside him. Kenny Rusin and Luca Fiovarati, 2 SRT Esports teammates, lining up 3rd and 4th. Nicholas Labwich in 5th, and Simon Feigl, new team for him. Altus Esports being launched overnight for myself, lining up in 6th. John Peasnick in 7th. David Northwoski in 8th. In 9th position is going to be Luis Paulo Gallen, now running as LP Racing, and Evan Marion going to round out the top 10.
The rest of the grid on screen, Jacob Schuley, Carlos Dieguez there. We'll start from 13th. He leads the championship at the moment. And one thing I'm looking forward to as well, as we see a couple of these drivers who have qualified poorly try to make their way through the field. It's a very short run from the rolling start all the way down to turn 1. So you won't see many overtakes, Jack, on the run down to turn 1. The likes of Darrell Carter, Brad Watson starting 23-24 have their work cut out for them.
Indeed, so there's also a crunch point into turn number 2 and 3 into that SS. You don't want to be making any overtaking moves in the opening section of the course, because it's so tight and so twisty, and it's always one that you have to be very careful with. All the drivers now heading down to your starting grid. The rough pace car will be taking us round 1 full lap of Road America, and then we can get racing. We have had a slight rule change for this round as well. It's no longer the leader has to go on the green flag. The leader can go whenever he wants, once the iRacing pace car has taken on to the lane. And well, Johnny, that's always an interesting rule, because it's down to the leader as to when he goes, and it is, of course, his choice.
Yeah, there's certain points where you can go as well. You want to be going when the drivers behind are starting to swerve, and I don't really think there's too big of a need to start to swerve and warm the tires up. So you want to catch drivers out. It's something you should be preparing for in the weeks leading up to the start of the race. Whether you're starting on pole or not, you need to think about it, be prepared. You could gain that slight bit of extra breathing room heading up to the S. As you can see there at the back side of the screen, the right-hand corner into turn 1 rises uphill up to about 38 meters of elevation change here around Road Atlanta. The lowest point just before turn 5, and the highest point all the way high above at turn 11. So plenty of challenge through those first sectors. Look out for some good overtakes on the opening lap. Ready to go for the formation lap.
Indeed so, 2 minutes have passed. All your drivers are now collected on that starting field, and Ricardo Ferreira is going to be your pulser to Follow Me Esports, a team which of course runs in the VRS iRacing GT World Championship, and will be here later on. Just a few pro drivers in this one. I think the 32 car field, of course, it's about the same field as we've been seeing all season long, but some drivers which haven't had a great qualifying. Hugo Preto, usually one of the drivers up at the front of your field, today starting down in P number 17. Not obviously the day he wanted, though. Simon Feigl having a great day. He has had a great qualifying, starting 6th. He's usually down in the mid-pack.
Oh, he's finally celebrating his new esports team, Altus Esports. You can see they're on screen as well. He's in the Audi, and exciting times ahead for Simon Feigl. Left ERT just a short time ago, in the past week or so, and I think starting an esports team, it's like every person has an esports team at the moment. It's like back in the mid 2000s, every second person you met was a DJ. Now these days, every second or third person you meet owns an esports team, so it's starting to become one of those norms.
Some big names in that team as well. Bo Albert coming across Tim Ryan, who's been doing very well in the Sprint Car World Championship Series, the World of Outlaws Series that we see here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. He is one of the members of that team. Zach Hanlon as well coming across. So it's a very star-studded team, and I think it's one of those teams that we need to watch out for over the course of the next year or so as they grow. Of course, they have got some great names to start off with. It's not like they're starting off from scratch. They have got a good driver lineup already, but that team I expect to see grow, and I have a feeling they're trying to go more international, like Evolution Racing Team did in the last couple of years, Johnny, and to see that happening would be great.
No, definitely. And you got to know people in sim racing too, and you'll never start a team from scratch and you have no friendships. You know, this is something where you have to create a little alliance, of course, as well. Feigl, we know, starting from P6. Behind him, John Piesnik as well. Kenny Rusin from the third position. Good qualifying performance from him. He needed that, didn't he? He's currently second in this championship, down 1 point on Carlos Diguez. Ready to take to the start though. Turn 10 coming up. Pace car will pull in. Ready to go for 60 minutes of action.
Indeed so, and the field will be under control of Ricardo Ferreira and the number 13 machine. Follow Me Esports. He's jumped. Green flag flies at Road Atlanta. We're away for 1 hour of racing. Good start by Ricardo Ferreira. Everyone else filtering themselves through that tricky first section of corners, as you said, John. You don't want to be making that many overtaking moves. Everyone nice and cleanly through that at the moment. A couple of drivers swapping positions. Simon Feigl losing out down to 7th position, but Ricardo Ferreira, nice start.
Yeah, good start from him. They head through the S's section. Everybody's going to be in formation at this part of the lap. You don't want to brake too late into some of these corners. Cold brakes, you never know if they could hurt yourself on this opening lap here. Rising up the hill at turn 5. Now the braking's are into turn 6. Here's the first real overtaking spot of the circuit. Doesn't really seem that any driver is close to the one in front.
Turn 5, we've got a car around. John Roberts, the number 32 boosted Motorsport Ferrari, looking like he is having a few issues. He started down the back of your grid. He is going again, but he has lost a lot of time. Small spin for him coming through turn number 5. And I was about to say, turn number 5, you have to be very careful as we're currently on a nice big train for first position going on at the moment. Kenny Roos and Griffin Garner looking like they're going to try and swap positions. Kenny Roos into 10A, not going to be able to make the move done. But turn 5, you have to be very careful in GT machinery, Johnny, because it's such a hard corner to navigate. You've got that elevation change, and if you get it wrong, slightly sideways, it can mean disaster.
Yeah, it definitely can. You certainly don't want to get turn 5 wrong. It's blind as well, rising up the hill. Have a look at Kenny Rusins here. Whoa, goes for the switchback. Brilliant move, Kenny Rusins. He's up into the second position already, so aggressive by Kenny to start this lap. It is a 1 hour race, and this is the second longest format we'll have. We're in the standard format. We know the endurance format, you have that 2 hour event, but still 1 hour is actually not that long of a race, so good move by Kenny Rusins. He's got to get a move on to get first position.
Yeah, it's longer than you think it is. We've already had 2 minutes onto lap number 2 now of this event. Nicholas Laubich looking to move himself up the order a little bit. He's +1 at the moment. Best start from what I can see on my timing screen, so it's either got to go to Wayne Bork or Paul Mansell. They've moved 5 positions. A couple of cars onto the lane as well. Lawrence de Rijk and David Van Broek have both brought their Mercedes down onto the lane, but it does look as though Kenny Rusin played the dummy to get past on turn number 1. He's now got eyes forward. Ricardo Ferreira is his next target. Yeah,
Ferreira, though, has had a clean start, so he's just going to hit this braking zone. Don't make any major mistakes. Of course, strategy will come into play as later on in the event too. They head through this uphill section, the highest point of the circuit, surprisingly through here, and then the tough and challenging final corner. Get this wrong, you'll be into the concrete barrier to the left-hand side. There we see on screen the rest of the field coming through turn 10. Movers and shakers on the left-hand side as well. Victor Schmoljak down 4 positions. David Van Broek as well, not a good start from him. So not the biggest changes, but of course already one driver in the pit lane. I think, is that John Roberts though? He might be out of the event there.
Not sure. I have seen a couple of drivers. Lawrence de Rijk has parked it. That's not John Roberts. It is his mate, David Branco, Booster Boastful. Emirari Bonduel as well. Hasn't made it around the first lap by the looks of it. He has gone. So looking like we have 2 or 3 retirements already. Clint Shane Smith bringing his car BMW down onto the lane as well. So looking like the race of attrition has already started, and that's what you have to be very careful of at Road Atlanta. It's always a track where you have to, it's a case of if you can survive, you'll be doing one thing. If you can survive and also drive very fast, you can do another. You don't expect to see incidents because these guys are such a high caliber of drivers, Johnny, but I wouldn't say an incident isn't going to happen. I would probably say we're going to see one around the mid-pack when we start lapping as Ross Rizzo gets his way past Jacob Shuley.
Yeah, there we go. Ross Rizzo, good pass. I got to say, Clint Smith, though, series administrator. Now he has more time to give penalties to everybody now, and he's out of the race. Here they go. This is a good scrap here. Number 6 there of Jacob Shuley, still fighting along with Ross Rizzo heading into this tight final corner. I've seen so many incidents over the years here at Road Atlanta, and they keep it together for turn 1, side by side behind between Phil Worley, Carlos Diguez in front, the championship leader. And he doesn't need an incident, does he? In this part of the race, especially, well, he doesn't need incident at all. He needs all the points he can get. He's got the championship one hand. Well, he doesn't have one hand on the trophy, but he wants that heading into the middle stages of the lap there. Drivers, you're allowed to do that. Run very wide at turn 5 and then hit this braking zone for turn 6. You can see the track already rubbering in. The track state, for those that don't know, all the way from the start of practice, 40 minutes, qualifying for 20 minutes, it carries over to the race. So that's something that will help the drivers in terms of traction.
As the track rubbers up as well, the cars will all handle slightly differently. It's a case of you want to be able to make sure your car is going to handle well in the rubbered up state that the track is at the moment. It did start completely clean as we see Luis Paolo-Gallen going for a move on Simon Feigl into 10A. The 21 Mercedes not going to be able to get the move done by the looks of it. Simon Feigl is already down 1. David Northwowski as well going to go up the inside. Luis Paolo-Gallen through turn number 11. That's a brave place to do it there.
He doesn't want to get it wrong though on the exit. And, you know, this still counts for the team championship. You can see the team's championship on the left-hand side of the screen. So you don't want to let yourself down in the cockpit, but you also have the accountability and responsibility of taking care of your teammate with the points. Simon Feigl now doesn't have to worry about Luis Paolo-Gallen. Has to worry about David Nowakowski behind. Now they head towards, again, turn 5. I love how quick David's looking through this corner. Feigl runs very deep, loses a bit of time there. And but Simon Feigl has enough of a breathing space to stay in front.
Feigl looks like he has a little bit of damage to his front left. That could be a curb strike. The curbs are extremely high here at Road Atlanta. You don't want to be hitting them. It's almost like Nürburgring level of curbs, Johnny. And it's a case of if you can avoid those, you'll be doing well. Obviously, a slight curb strike can damage your floor if you hit it in the right place as well. Your lead battle for the lead, Kenny Roos and Ricardo Ferreira, currently split by around 0.4 of a second. So Kenny Roosen looking like he wants to move his way up into the lead, extend his points haul. Of course, SRT Esports and Follow Me Esports are the 2 teams who are fighting each other for the championship lead at the moment. And for Kenny Roosen, or the more points he can get, the better his championship is looking. But do not forget, still early stages in the season as we see John Piesnik and it looks like Luco Fiovarati going side by side into turn number 1.
Yeah, they are, but look at this battle down behind. Drivers on the grass. Wayne Burke files his way past Jacob Shuley. And Schooley there was, oh, he almost lost it, didn't he, on the final corner. Wayne Burke now trying to go around the outside of Worley. No room. This is the part of the track where you have to form up the early S's. Going back to your curb use point, there's only so much you can do in terms of setup with the damping and suspension to compensate for high curbs. So you want to make sure that you take the curbs. A big rookie mistake that people make as we ride on board with Wayne Burke is that they think, oh, the curbs aren't part of the racetrack. You know, I've got to stay onto the tarmac. No, you can gain half a second to a second by using curbs around a single lap, even a place like Road Atlanta. So you want to make sure that the car isn't too unsettled riding over those bumps and riding over the curbs, and minimizing your lap time as much as possible too.
I remember watching a lap by Juani Lopez, who's part of Vendaval Sim Racing, in the Ferrari 488 GT3 just before Petit Le Mans, and just watching that car, it was like it was on rails. He could ride the curves. I was driving the same car in that event, and I could not get the car to be set up the same as him. And for these drivers, it's a case of, as you're looking for the battle between Simon Feigl and the car of Luca Fioverati, I believe, the number 85 Audi, looking like he wants to get his way back up through the field. He has dropped down one position on where he started, still sitting comfortably though, Johnny, as you see a lovely onboard shot on board of that Altus Esports machine.
Yeah, exactly. Great shot here from the left-hand side, and you can see how pinpoint perfect every driver is through this early section. Feigl now hits his braking zone perfectly. This is where we saw him run wide earlier. He keeps it quite stable through there. He's got no real big pressure behind from David Nowakowski. Into turn 6, a lot of camber through this corner, helps ease the car in, and it progressively slows down for 7 here. This is where you're going to focus on traction. There is a long straight coming up. Feigl's going to use all the draft he can get and try to make a move on Luca Fioravanti. No DRS for these drivers. You saw the DRS boards there. Not on these cars, of course. And I think it's a bit too far behind. It'd have to be a Daniel Ricciardo dive bomb, wouldn't it? No, doesn't make it stick, and he'll remain in P7 for the time being. I like this race, though, from Feigl. He's remaining patient. A lot of the drivers in that top 7 are looking quick in this race. So, looking like we've got a good fight coming on our hands here. That the top, what is it? The top 10 drivers separated by 5.7 seconds. Good start to this race.
It is indeed, and it's good for these drivers who are racing later on in the VRS World Championship Series, because it means that they can just collect more data on their cars, make sure everything is in tip-top condition, ready, and these setups do need fine-tuning here at Road Atlanta. There is a fine line between on the pace and in a wall, and it is usually the setup which means that goes wrong. And, well, Simon Feigl just looks as though that's what he's trying to do, getting ready for that World Championship race later on today, and I think we're going to be seeing the same strategy from Follow Me Esports. Hugo Preto is one of their drivers. The thing he's going to be racing today, hasn't got his pro license back. He's currently down in 19th position, down 2 positions on where he started. Not having a great day for him, but for him, again, it's going to be one of these races of just collecting data, making sure everything is all good for this afternoon.
No, the thing is with setups is you have a base setup, and sometimes you adapt that for track by track. And sometimes, though, drivers like to start from scratch every single round. There's different ways to adapt setups, but it just depends what you like. Of course, Hugo Preto started the race 17th. Hasn't had the best of events. He's currently down 2 positions. Reese Crucial has started 25th up into 18th. Wayne Burke started 20th up into 14th. I swear, 8 years ago, Jack, I raced against Wayne Burke somewhere in 2010. He was one of the first drivers I ever remember when I came to sim racing. Here he is fighting with Phil Worley, though. And he's been doing this for a couple of laps so far. No contact between the two, please. Oh, you couldn't etch closer than that. And a great battle so far between the two. I like the grit and determination from Phil Worley. He stays in that 13th position. Lucky 13th for him.
Good defending by Philip Worley there. Wayne Bork, his car was a little bit out of control coming out of turn number 1 as they come up into that tricky turn number 5. They have got pressure from behind. That's Jacob Schuley, so this is a 3-way battle for position number 13. Carlos Dieguez, though, has just pulled away a little bit. He's in position number 12 at the moment. Championship leader, Johnny, clearly not having a great day. I wonder whether he's just struggling to find some pace. Conditions are extremely hot. 41-degree track temperature means the grip is going to be at a premium today in these GT3 machines.
Yeah, sometimes it can wear out the tires as well, so we're going to be careful with that track temperature. As I stated before, the rubber's translated all the way from practice to qualifying. Battles going up ahead. Who's that? Is that Simon Feigl again? That guy's been in every single battle this race, I think. David Nowakowski trying to make a move. It was at a bump draft there through the tunnel. Unfortunately, the bridge got in the way, so that really ruined our view of that battle. Now David has to go defensive on the Brazilian painted scheme car of Luis Paulo Galon. Contact between those two. Oh my goodness, Jack. Now they're starting to get feisty. 47 minutes remaining. That time's ticking down.
Indeed so, and these drivers will have to make a pit stop at some point during this race. They are limited to 80% on fuel, expecting down as the lane in around the 35-minute, 40-minute mark, so they can be able to get to the end. You could, of course, fuel save, but it's not recommended. Luis Paulo Galon wanting to get joining in on this one, and in fact, actually, this train extends right the way back to Ross Rizzo.
Yeah, where's Ross Rizzo now? The 11th, yeah. Oh my goodness. So, now, as we said before, the top 11 separated by 7 seconds, so it's definitely close between these guys. Oh, Daryl Carter's had a spin in P23. Daryl Carter is continuing away here. There he is on screen. I don't know what's happened to him, but it was at turn 5. That's a corner, Jack, which we've seen throughout the years catch a lot of drivers out.
Yeah, it's a case of turn number 5 is extremely difficult. It's a little bit easier in a downforce machine, but even so, there's a very horrible bump on the inside of the corner that if you hit it hard enough will unsettle the car, as Luis Paulo Gallen is coming to, or looking like he's trying to put some pressure onto David Nowotny in the 86 Triton racing machine, and of course cannot get the move done. Luis Paulo Gallen, though, he's a GT machinery specialist. And Johnny, I know that he's a name in the Australian community that a lot of people know as a very fast driver.
Yeah, definitely. You want to make a name for yourself, like Wayne Burke. See, he made a name for himself, and I remember him 8 years later. And so, continue his way. There's the number 21, Luis Paulo Gallen. This is the confusing thing about countries, Jack, is that Brazil is the same color as Australia's pretty much sporting teams, green and gold. Brazil has that green and yellow. I'm confused. You know, I think in the World Cup we should disguise ourselves, and if we lose we should say we're Brazil, and if Brazil win we'll say, hey, wait a second, that was Australia playing, and then we'll get away with making it to the round of 16.
Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I don't follow football, unfortunately, so battle between Simon Feigl, Luca Fioravanti still going on. Fioravanti going to hold the inside line to 10A, 10B this time. Feigl going to try and challenge around the outside. That's not where you really want to do it. The 86 Triton racing machine looking like he wants to have a go at the inside as they make contact. Simon Feigl hard into the wall on the inside of turn number 11. Looks as though no one else was involved in that one, but Feigl, heavy damage to that number 85 machine.
He's going to head to take some service here in the pit lane. Let's look at the replay on screen. Oh, my goodness. So here they exit turn 10A, 10B through the uphill turn 11. That was just clumsy. That was just super clumsy. It's just avoidable incidents like that you don't want to have, especially in this moment of the race. Here we're right on board with David Nowotny in that Triton racing car. So have a look at this. I don't know. I think David went into Simon there on his line, so that shouldn't have happened. But there we go anyway. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Simon Feigl, not sure if he's taking repairs or if he's out of the event, but that car has sustained a lot of damage. Not what he needed for his championship. The good thing is you have a couple of drop rounds ahead of the penultimate round and the final round, which Simon can take.
Yeah, that's going to be important for Simon. It means that he can actually get back some of the damage that has happened. He has been running down in the mid-pack, was having an incredible race today. That promotes everyone else up. So Luca Fioravanti, Luis Paulo Gallen now, because David Nowotny lost a lot of time in that instance. So Luis Paulo Gallen going to move himself up. He's up 2 positions on where he started. Biggest mover and shaker, though, so far in your field is actually down in 21st position. It's Paul Mansell in the number 5 machine. He's just running on his own in the number 20 or the number 5 Mercedes, Johnny, but yeah, he's making his way up through the field nice and easily. Is a battle ahead for position number 20. Jacopo Segoli and João Oliveira are going to be going at it for 20th position.
Yeah, Paul Mansell races for VR46 Racing. Valentino Rossi fans, of course. The Doctor, and it says that on his rear wing as well. Here he comes through turn 1. Look at the rear wing. That camera shot was too low. But anyway, you see it there. Unless that means virtual reality 46, Jack, which is something different. Of course, though, it is Valentino Rossi, who is one of the greatest in motorsport, greatest human beings we've ever seen. There it is on screen. The Doctor, Paul Mansell, probably needs a doctor. There's some damage to that Mercedes.
Yeah, it's actually, we've got Martin Silvassi for Trick Sim Sports. He has had a spin at turn number 5. He's dropping down through the field. Not sure what happened there. He is actually going the wrong way on circuit. Looks like actually it was a mistake. The car just snapped to the right. A little bit of oversteer. He has spun it around now, and he is going again. There you go. Replay up on your screen. Hard contact with the wall on the outside. There was another driver involved in that one. Looks as though it was Hugo Preto. It was indeed the Follow Me Esports machine. Hugo had nowhere to go. You can see from the onboard shot. Martin Silvassi ahead just gets loose, comes straight across the track. Slight bit of contact between them. Not sure how much damage that did do to Hugo, though. Unfortunate incident for Martin there.
And look what corner it was again. Another driver losing it at turn 5. That is one of the most underrated corners. This time he lost it, though, in the exit. And that was a lot different because, of course, he didn't lose it on the apex or anything like that. Oh, there was... I'm not even sure. Hugo Preto, that was like a huge brick wall just barging his way through turn 5. No damage there to Hugo Preto, and he continues, of course, in that number 77 Mercedes. You know, I have to say as well, again, turn 5 is a difficult corner. People underrate the braking zone at turn 10. You know, as hard as it is, I've spoken about it before. There's a lot of bumps there. It's easy, it's downhill. Sorry, it's not easy to get right, it's downhill, and you want to make sure you don't overshoot it through there, especially when you're making a move.
Yeah, if you overshoot it, there's a nice bump on the outside, which your car is not going to like. You'll probably end up on the inside wall. I've found that one a couple of times as the battle for position number 6 still goes on. Luis Paulo Gallen, is he going to be close enough this time into the chicane to make a move? He's going to go to the outside, go to the inside. Slight bit of contact between himself and Luca Villavaranti. Villavaranti misses the chicane altogether. This is actually now going to let David Nowowoski come down on the inside. So Nowowoski is going to make up a place, and Villavaranti, he looks as though he hasn't lost much time, but Nowowoski's got the overspeed.
Oh, this is going to be tight now. Gallen can make 2 positions here at turn number 1. 3 wide into the braking zone. And Luis Paulo Gallen heads into the first position. David Nowakowski into, well, first position to that corner. 6th position for Gallen. Nowakowski in 7th. Villavaranti there in 8th. Came off the worst out of those 3 as well. But look at the train, of course, as well. Villavaranti's teammate of Evan Marion behind. Ross Rizzo, of course, staying close through the grim reaping corner of turn 5. Rizzo runs wide. Here's the replay up on screen of that battle, though. It was extra tight, of course.
Yeah, if you can see, it just looks as though the run that, look at the run that Luis Paulo Gallen got off the corner. That final corner got a good run into the turn 1. Luca Villavaranti hitting the brakes early, did not want to get involved in that scrap. David Nowowoski's just got left on the outside, and for Luis Paulo Gallen, +3 in one corner, and he has got damage up front right, and the Mercedes isn't stopping him at the moment, although for the drivers behind, they're all going to be wanting to get their way back past and just get back those vital points. But it must be pointed out, we still have 40 minutes remaining in this race.
Yeah, plenty of races. I'm looking forward to the super sprint rounds later on, Jack. We have round 5 at Mosport, or Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Everyone calls it Mosport anyway. And Brands Hatch, of course, round 12. 2 perfect rounds for that super sprint format. 3 short races, 2 15-minute events, 1 20-minute event. That is going to be a thriller. Every single motor racing series I'm in that has a series format like that is a must-watch. And again, this series is one of them, the International GT3 Championship. This fight as well for these remaining spots in the top 10 remains close as well. Rest of the field, though, starting to spread out. Jacob Schurley, though, in 14th position, followed by Victor Schmoljak, Reese Guchel. Reese, of course, he's a driver who we spoke about earlier. Jack started in 25th, now making even more progress, up into 16th.
Yeah, he is up 9 positions now on where he started, having a good day in that triple 4 BMW. For the Triton Racing Machine, actually, Victor Schmoljak, he's not having a great day. His teammate is running up in the top 10. He's currently in 15th. Jacob Schurley running in the mid-pack. That's usually where he runs. So this battle is continuing on. You can just see the train of cars as they head down that very long back straight once again. Lap number 16 now that they're on. Luis Paulo Gallen still being able to hold off the Audi and the number 86 Triton Racing Machine of David Nowowoski as they finish, as they round. Actually, turn number 12, that final corner, Johnny, another corner which is pretty difficult. It is possible to run it flat in a GT3 machine, but you have to get your line spot on. If not, you do run wide.
That's not turn 12. That should be called turn 13. I hate on all these circuits when they have corners like 10A and 10B. What does that mean? They're 2 different corners. 10A is a left-hander and 10B is a right-hander. This track has 13 corners. But anyway, back to your point. Turn 13, of course, we spoke about already. It's very tight, easy to get wrong. Of course, so you'll see drivers there pushing during qualifying. Now, we didn't see the qualifying session earlier, but of course, drivers getting quite hair-raising through those corners. Here we see the field starting to travel. Brilliant camera shot from the curb. I have to say as well, Jack, I'm waiting for someone to hopefully make a move here, of course, as well. Ross Rizzo, he's a guy I've been trying to keep an eye on. He just can't seem to find a way past Evan Marion for most of this event.
Yeah, it looks as though the SRT Esports driver Evan Marion has been doing a great job to hold off Ross Rizzo, another one of the names that you have to watch out for in the Australian side of iRacing and GT racing. They've also got another car involved. That's your championship leader, Carlos Dieguez, now behind Ross Rizzo. This is the battle for position number 6, of course, with Luis Paulo Gallen heading up this straight. And David Nowowoski has dropped off the back a little bit, but your championship leader looking to make up a few more positions. Fastest lap of the race so far is going to be Kenny Rusin, an 18.9 1.58, still currently in second position, hasn't been able to make a move on your leader, Ricardo Ferreira. He's also the only driver so far to make out into the 1:18s on lap times. That SRT 333 looking to get his way past Ricardo Ferreira, although I think Kenny Roosen playing the long game in this one.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you only lose 5 points in this event if you finish the second compared to the win. The win has some more bragging rights. He's in that SRT eSport car there as well, as we see, but you know, you still want to, you never know. The championship could go down to the wire. I mean, it's already 1 point, as we mentioned, so Kenny Roosen's here. Don't want to end your race making a move for P1, but of course, you want to keep searching for it. Sometimes it's always good being the driver behind. Bit of less pressure on you. No pressure from P3. He's 2 seconds behind. You don't want to get in, and as fun as it is, you don't want to get into a race where you're just constantly using your relative time to you know, pretty much catch up to the driver in front. You want to keep it visually, stay focused. Don't keep looking at their relative time. You'll get addicted to that. And just try and get as close as you can to Ricardo Ferreira, and be careful of Griffin Gardner behind in case he picks up his pace. Though Ferreira's so slow that he backs you up into P3.
At the moment, it looks like the top 5 are all matching each other roughly for lap times. Everyone within the top 10 actually running within about half a second of each other, running from sort of 1:19.5s down to 1:19.9s last time around for Ross Rizzo. So everyone running very similar pace. Doesn't look like anyone has got the pace to actually close up, especially Griffin Gardner to close up onto second place of Kenny Roosen. Awesome onboard shot of Carlos Dieguez as he looks to get his way past Ross Rizzo coming off of turn number 5 for the 19th time.
Go for it.
And yes, he does. He's going to look down to the inside, not going to get the move done into 6. But actually, that onboard shot gives you a good indication at home of how different or how high you climb through the S's and the elevation changes here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm just getting desperate for a move here. Carlos Diego's he's etching closer and closer, isn't he? Here they are across the straight. The draft effect doesn't seem to be doing too well for these drivers at the moment, so that's something that starts to get in the head of you. When you get stuck behind the driver in front constantly, lap after lap, it gets frustrating. So this race could turn into a mental frustration battle. Carlos Diego still behind Ross Rizzo, heading through turn 12 and / turn 13, it should be called, across the main straight. Now loses a few tenths. So you can see there, Diego's, I don't know if he made a mistake or he lost time, but didn't seem to do anything wrong and lost a heap of time through that final corner. So is that setup related? Is it something else that's going on through the high-speed corners? You want as much balance as you can through those high-speed corners. And of course, if you don't, you're pretty much done and dusted. There is almost nothing you can do as a driver. That's all setup related.
Yeah, it's all to do with the setup. If you can get the setup spot on, you can ride these curves very nicely here at Road Atlanta as we approach the halfway stage in this race. 34 minutes remaining now. It is, when you think about it, it's not as long as the GT3 endurance races that we see that can be 3, 6, even 24 hours as we head to the 24 hours of Spa in a few weeks' time, Johnny, but an hour is still a long time, especially at such a short circuit, because you're lapping within every minute and 20 seconds, so you need to be, and it's a circuit where you have to be concentrating all the time to be able to get the most out of your car.
Yeah, there's a reason why I've never driven a 24-hour event in my life, because I just can't do it. I'm not mentally strong enough to do it. Matter of fact, I'm so mentally weak that I'm not even racing anymore. I'm in the commentary booth, which is the best part of motor racing, is that I don't have to race anymore, and I can enjoy the pleasure of seeing other talent out there, the likes of Ricardo Ferreira in P1, Kenny Roosen, these brilliant drivers leading this race. It's always a great thrill up into P1. A lot of drivers are self-conscious about things. You know, they always want to be seen on the broadcast doing a good thing. They don't want to be talked about badly. It's good to see a lot of passion in sim racing lately, and it's getting better and better and more positive over the years.
I'll tell you what, Johnny, you haven't experienced the true pleasure of sim racing until you get tunnel vision going up Eau Rouge at 4 o'clock in the morning. That was interesting last year for my 24 hours of Spa, of course, running with my own team. And we were running in top split, although I'm not going to talk about that one. We're going to go back to this race in this battle for position number 6. That hasn't actually changed at all since we last spoke about it. And in fact, everyone's just looking like they're settling into a nice pace. And I wonder whether the undercut on the pit stops is going to be important for some of these drivers. As Luis Paulo Gallen, you're seeing that beautiful green, blue and yellow Mercedes. Change of paint, obviously, for him, but it's still an absolutely stunning livery, mind you.
Yeah, I swear he's... It says he's from Australia or New Zealand. I swear that's a Brazilian livery. So I'm confused. Again, we won't talk about that. But strategies, of course, he's a sitting duck, isn't he, Gohan? He really, I mean, if he pits, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Drivers behind will have a clean track. If he doesn't pit, they could undercut him. And that's what you talked about, Jack. Lap times for Luis Paulo Gallon. Last lap around a 19.4. He was in the 20s earlier on. Most of the race, though, early on in the stint, 19.5. So you should be able to cover off a driver with the undercut if they pit at this stage. Only just. So that's something that Gallon needs to react to, of course. You don't want to react to the wrong driver, though. We've seen that before in different races. We saw it in Formula One, Australia 2010. Jenson Button went off the racetrack and was on the soft rubber, and everyone thought, oh, these tires are terrible, we're not going to pit, because he just went off the racetrack. He ended up winning that race because everybody reacted to the wrong aspect of his driving.
Live timing and scoring is of course available over at RaceSpotTV/timing, so you can keep up with all of those drivers that you want to see. Battle for 18th position currently up on your screen between Jacopo Sigoli and João Oliveira. Those guys have been going at it for a long time, currently split by 3.5 seconds, and it just looks like the two Iberian drivers aren't able to make a move on one another. And at the moment, those two are going to stay at line astern. And I wonder whether actually for that driver of João Oliveira, he's just trying to save some fuel, Johnny, so he can go one lap longer and try and get the undercut in the pits.
Yeah, he's in that disabled racers car. And the Mercedes is there second in this pack, of course. That's a great team name. And comes through the main straight right behind Jacob Sigoli into turn one. Riding on board with Oliveira. Here they head through the rising elevation of turn one, heading through the S's. Want to make sure that you're very light on the steering inputs through these corners. You don't want to scrub off too much speed. You want the car to ease into every single corner. Use a slight bit of the curve through these next couple of corners, then through turn 5, the Grim Reaping corner. Use all the curve to the outside. Don't run too wide. You'll propel yourself into the air, much like you're in an aeroplane taking off in an airport. The camber through 6 will ease you through this corner. Slight tap of the throttle, then on to the brakes with your left foot where you can. Traction is ultra important through turn 7. And it's frustrating because every time you get the traction and you nail it right, the driver in front will always get a better getaway than you, just because he has that track position. Then the long run down to turn 10. So again, you talked about strategy, Jack. We're halfway through the race. We're going to see start to see drivers pitting if needed. Of course, fuel restrictions this round as well in the standard format. 80% fuel tank available for all drivers out there in the field.
Indeed so. We've now reached the halfway stage of your race. Let's take you on board with your championship leader. Carlos Diego is currently down in P number 11. And let's go for a lap of Road Atlanta with RaceSpotTV fan immersion. you go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live, streaming round number 3 of the International GT3 Championship from Road Atlanta in America. Jack Stiles alongside Johnny Simone going to be bringing you the final 25 minutes of action, and Hugo Luis on the cameras. And before we go back to your race, let's take you through your standings in your race so far. Ricardo Ferreira currently leading the way from Kenny Roosen, and that is your top 2. Griffin Gardner currently rounding out the top 3. 4th is going to be Nicholas Laubish, and 5th John Peasnick. 6th Luis Paolo Gallen, David Nowofsky and Luke Fioverati going to round out your top 8. Evan Marion and Ross Rizzo going to round out your top 10. Rest of your standings are currently up on your screen. Reese Gookill is going to be your biggest mover and shaker, up 10, although Paul Maxwell is also up 11. It is, of course, Johnny Simon. Is it Johnny Simon or Johnny Simon? I've never got it right.
It's Simon. That's how it's spelled. No, I'm just messing around with you. It is Simon, though. You know, I have to say, though, Jack Stars, you have one of the coolest names I've ever heard in my life. Just thought I'd say that to you, just to suck up a little bit more.
Well, if you were in England, I'd call you Johnny Simon, because we obviously say Simon and not Simon. But of course, it's a good way of saying that name.
But you got to get pronunciation right. No, I don't want to call someone a different pronunciation based on culture.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I once did call Ariane de Freitas I think it was Ariane de Further. I think I called him. I got it horribly wrong. So start off with, I wasn't exactly the greatest person with pronunciation. Pit stops are starting. Jacob Shuley has brought himself down onto the lane. 11.2 second stop. I expect to see pit stop slightly shorter than that, because everyone is, of course, still going. John Peasnick has got himself past Nicholas Laubish as well. Laubish actually has dropped quite a way behind. I wonder whether he's had a bit of an issue. He has.
You know, try and find where that happened for Laubish. I'm not sure where I see it at the moment, though. Turn 5, it seemed like, for Nicholas Laubish, so something's gone wrong for him, of course. And that was this lap, wasn't it, Jack, if I'm not mistaken? So
it was indeed. You just sort of caught the end of it, and in fact, replay up on your screen now. From what I've seen, just looks as though he collects the curb heavy on the left-hand side, misses the right-hand side, and well, he had no hope in heaven of making turn number 5 safely. So John Peasnick getting a free position, making his way past Nicholas Laubish. That's where Laubish has picked up that little bit of damage, and that's that heavy curb strike that we were talking about earlier on, Johnny. It doesn't make it can make it a bit harder for these drivers.
No, it definitely does, and he actually held that pretty well, Nicholas, and kept it together, didn't impede himself too much. But of course, you talked about that, he rode over the curb too much. The car didn't seem to take the bumps too well, as of course, for Nicholas Laubish. So whether that's a setup issue or whether he's just overly aggressive, who knows. But he only lost 1 position, a couple of seconds, didn't hurt his race too much. That can, though, drop your confidence mentally. So he has to make sure he picks himself back up. He comes through the corner this lap around unscathed as well, heading through turn 6 now. No issues for him. We must say as well, no mandatory pit stop required, so you do not have to enter the pit lane. If you can make it on fuel, you'll be able to make it through to the end of the race without a penalty. So easy for him. Car on screen there, that was the number 22 again at turn 5, becoming a victim of that corner, wasn't it? And off the racetrack. So there's Griffin Gardner, of course, in P4 at the moment. Griffin Gardner was in P3 earlier, now lost the position. So these leaders now starting to struggle with the grip and the tyres.
Yeah, I wonder whether it is. So John Peasnick has now managed to get his way up into position number 3, because drivers are having issues at turn number 5, and it just looks as though Griffin Gardner went a little bit wide as Martin Silvassi gets his way past Guy Leach for position number 21. Again, it could be that indeed. Now, of course, no mandatory pit stop required, but they are limited to 80% on fuel. And I can almost assure you that if you try and do an hour on 80% fuel in a GT3 car, you won't make it because of how much you will have to fuel save. As, yes, Griffin Gardner making his way safely through turn 5 this time by the looks of things.
Top 2, though, looking close. I saw that on screen for a quick sneak peek. Kenny Roosen's incredibly close there. This is that battle for P3 now. So 2 close fights at the moment. We ride on board with the driver there of... That is Kenny Roosen's there on screen, that SRT car. Will they enter the pit lane this time around? 20 minutes to go. You want to play this to perfection. If you're Kenny Roosen's, you do the opposite to Ricardo Ferreira. Pit stop practice. I always talk about it, Jack. This is something that you should be mastering during your practice phase, your braking point into the pit lane. How you enter the box as well, you've got to hit your markers. This will count for the race win, of course. Kenny Rouzens wants that race victory all to himself.
And of course, you want to get the pit entry right at Road Atlanta. It's a very difficult pit entry. Last week on Friday night primetime, when the iRacing Le Mans series came to Road Atlanta, we saw Jack Sedgwick make a massive mistake on pit entry and clout the wall on the outside. And it's not one you want to hit because it is solid concrete. And I promise that if you hit that wall, the car will take more damage than the wall.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So you don't want to, you don't want to do that for sure. I'm just having a look at this with Ross Rizzo now. I was wondering who that was. Ross Rizzo, Carlos Dieguez. Look at the difference between your two championship leaders. Dieguez there. Oh, he could make a move here. Ross Rizzo on the back foot, heading on the exit of turn 5. Dieguez, he's going to be brave into turn 6 if he can pull off a move. Doesn't. And has to form back up behind the number 784 of Ross Rizzo. Good exit though from Carlos Dieguez. There could be a move here in the turn 10 braking zone. This is the closest I've seen Dieguez to Ross Rizzo in pretty much since the start of the race.
And you got an awesome view looking back from Ross Rizzo's BMW of Carlos Dieguez in the Follow Me Esports Audi. He needs to make his way up the positions because, of course, he only has a 1 or 2 point lead over Kenny Rouzens in the championship. And as it stands at the moment, Kenny Rouzens will be able to make his way up into the championship lead if it all stays the same. As you can see, Ross Rizzo getting very loose off of that turn 10A, 10B chicane through turn number 12 for the 31st time. Pit stops will be happening within the next few moments. 15 laps remaining now in this motor race, but Carlos Dieguez not close enough actually to make a move into that chicane that time.
Yeah, they made it this far, these drivers, without too many mistakes. We know it's Spa in 2 weeks. 2-hour race endurance, next week, sorry. 2-hour race endurance event as well. This is good practice, so that could lead up, especially those racing in the VRS GT World Championship later on. Of course, that's a good warm-up as well. Lots of racing over these next couple of weeks. You spoke about Spa earlier, Jack. I remember on another sim a few years ago, we used to have an invisible wall at Spa. So you used to be driving there and testing, and then it would just, boom, all 4 wheels off the car and you'd crash. So obviously that was round cancelled off our calendar. And never saw Spa again since then, unfortunately.
Yeah, some places do have that issue. None such issues on iRacing.
Not on iRacing.
No,
nope.
Of course not. And of course, we are not having the 2-week break that we usually see in the International GT3 Championship. We are going to be going straight to Spa. We're going to cross the pond and go to Spa for the first 2-hour endurance race of the season. And then we're going to have a 3-week break before we come back. And I can't remember what round number 5 is. It is one of the super sprint rounds, if I remember correctly, and it's Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And of course, as Carlos Dieguez makes his way down onto the pit lane, pit stops are now going to starting. Johnny, Belle Isle, round number 7. That is going to be an absolutely incredible race.
Yeah, I like that track. I've never raced on it, but I've seen a lot of races there, obviously in the real world as well. Belle Isle at Detroit, great track there. Of course, Dieguez looking for his pit box. The 999 car into his pit box quite well there, I'd have to say, Carlos Dieguez. Let's see how quick this pit stop is. Time there at the bottom left-hand side of your screen. Hopefully below 10 seconds. 10.6, I was wrong, but quick pit stop for him. We saw a driver in the 11-second range, didn't we, earlier, Jack? So for Dieguez, that's actually quite a lot quicker. And right now, it heads through the exit of the pit lane, taking a little less fuel, of course, to end this race. And is in currently P17. So clear track ahead. Let's see how quick this pit stop is. Let's see how quick this outlap's going to be for Dieguez, whether or not he can reel in the drivers in front once they make their stop.
Battlefield lead currently up on screen between Ricardo Ferreira and Kenny Rouzens. Are either of them going to bring their way down onto the pit lane this time? No, they're not. Going to go for one more. 32 laps. There's obviously an early stop. John Piesnik currently sitting in third, making up for mistakes from the 2 drivers behind him of Griffin Gardner and Nicholas Laubish. Obviously, those guys running as long as they can, trying to get the tank as dry as possible. I think we're going to see drivers actually pitting to get around 10 laps of fuel. If they can get another 2 or 3 laps out of this tank, Johnny, they're going to be in a very good position. I'd probably say that Carlos Dieguez has had to bring his car down onto the lane early because he's been pushing so hard to make up time.
No, exactly. That's true as well. So we didn't look at that part of the strategy, but that will certainly come into play later on. Let's have a look at lap times, though. Dieguez now continues, and compared to the drivers in front, we'll keep an eye on that, of course, as well. Nobody else, I think, entered the box at the moment this lap. So Dieguez all on his own, and as you mentioned there, too early. And his last lap, that was an out lap, so the lap time, of course, is going to be wonky. I think he's in a bit of no man's land here, Carlos Dieguez, unless he can push extremely hard on this next lap, which will be 34 for him.
He does, of course, now have some clean air ahead of him, so it means that he can just hot lap for the next few laps until the drivers ahead of him all pit. Ricardo Ferreira and Kenny Roosen currently up on your screen. That gap is now out to over a second, 1.4 seconds now. It looks as though Ricardo Ferreira had a better lap last time round, was 4/10 quicker than Kenny Roosen's. And while Kenny Roosen's hasn't really got much to answer to that one, so your lead battle is slowly drifting away. Nicholas Laubish as well. John Pisnick and Griffin Gardner, that battle for position number 3 has also started to just fan out a little bit. Your 5-6 car train for position number 6 has now cut down to 2 between Luis Paolo Galland, David Norfolowski, and then Luca Viavarati, Evan Marion, the 2 teammates, and Ross Rizzo still running in a pack of 3. A battle for position number 13 as well going on between Victor Smrzic and Ruiz Gukel.
Yeah, that's still going on there behind. None of those two have entered the pit lane this race either. And Reese has had a brilliant event so far. We've spoken about that, up 11 positions. Wayne C. Burke up into 11th. Great event from him. He's actually having one of the best events out of anyone this race. He could even find himself in the top 10 at the end of the strategy phase. There he is on screen, and that's Synergy Sim Racing number 89 BMW. Only 13 minutes remaining. This is going to be a thrilling finish. I was expecting, Jack, I knew the pit stops were going to come late, but not this late. Drivers are really pushing to the max here, and this could be, well, it is going to be such an exciting finish.
It's quite interesting because 80% feel would tell me that drivers would be down onto the lane at around the 40-45 minute mark. Maybe a little bit later. To see them running to this point in the race, they're doing a lot of laps. And of course, they are limited on fuel. If I can't really do the calculations in my head, or I believe it would be around 95, 96 lap litres they're going to be allowed in total. So Nicholas Laubish now bringing his number 723 Prio Racing Team Audi down onto pit lane to the first of your front runners to really come down and make a stop. This is now going to be interesting to see how these guys compare on pit stop time and lane to lane time.
Yeah, exactly. So overall, he will be in that 35-40 second range once he makes his stop. This will be quicker. Possibly, again, 10.6 seconds, 10.9 in the end. Out of the pit lane in 33.4 seconds. Good stop for Nicholas Laubish. Where is he, though, in relation to Carlos Dieguez? Way in front of Carlos Dieguez. Dieguez not even close. A few seconds behind. Pareto in the pit lane as well. Hugo Pareto out and away. Hopefully a quick pit stop for him, of course, as well. He'll feed out in P17. There he is on screen. That Follow Me Esports car. Follow is greater than me Esports. That's I'm just joking around. And we're still waiting for who else in the top. So nobody else in the top 10's pitted so far. They're all back in the pack and down in the order. Freya, though, enters the pit lane. Kenny Roosen's continue. So your leader enters into his box for the first time. This could be the end of the race for Ferreira if he gets this wrong.
Yeah, indeed so. Griffin Gardner as well coming down to the lane. Kenny Roosen's now has traffic ahead of him. So could this be a good strategy call by Ricardo Ferreira, or can Kenny Roosen's get the undercut? And in fact, actually a lot of your pack are going to be bringing themselves down onto the lane this time. So much so that Luis Paolo Galland has gone from 6th to 3rd. Now, but of course, it needs to be watching Kenny Roosen's and Ricardo Ferreira. Ricardo Ferreira is still stationary by the looks of it. He's back out. Yeah, 10.4 second stop. Good stop for him. A lane time of 32.2 seconds. We're going to have to wait to see how that compares with your driver of Kenny Roosen. Still leading, although he does have traffic to navigate before he can bring his car down to the lane by the looks of it.
Yeah, that's just not going to work out here for Kenny Roosen. He's got the VR46 car up ahead of Paul Mansell. Paul Mansell's having a good race, though. Surprised he's being lapped here. He's got to get out of the way, or else Kenny Roosen's, yeah, he's got no chance now. Kenny Roosen had to back off there. It looks like Ferreira will feed out into the lead if Roosen's does pit this time round, though. John Pisnick, he'll need to enter the box as well, along with Luis Paolo Gaon. Let's have a look at Kenny Roosen's. Into the box he comes on screen there, Jack, and overshoots the entry quite a little bit. This is just the horrid in-lap for Kenny Roosen's.
Yeah, I think it's a bad strategy call by Kenny Roosen's. He hasn't done it right, in my view. He should have come down a lap before. So everyone else, Ross Rizzo actually going to carry on. He hasn't pitted yet, going for a 38 lap stint. he is now the leader of your race. And in fact, if he saved enough fuel, I wouldn't say he's still got 9 laps of fuel left in the tank, Johnny, to get to the end. But it's going to be interesting to see where Kenny Roosen cycles out in comparison to Riccardo Ferreira, who's now coming through turn number 1. Kenny Roosen's now going to be coming off the limiter, so Riccardo Ferreira cycling himself back into the lead. His lead at the moment is going to be over a second, although saying that he is within a second, so Kenny Roosen didn't lose that much time. In fact, he did gain a little bit, but he did have a slightly quicker lane time by about 0.4 of a second.
Oh my goodness. I'm not saying he would have gotten past, but he would have been right all over the rear bumper of the driver of Riccardo Ferreira, who's essentially in second place now that everybody's made their pit stop. Griffin Gardner spun. Oh no. And that's through the yeses this time round. Replay up on screen. Oh my goodness. That was with Luis Paulo.
Yeah, Luis Paulo Gallen looks like they just made a slight bit of contact, and well, Griffin Gardner's car was the one that came off worst.
Oh my god. And here we go, exit the pit lane. Oh, that was always going to happen, wasn't it? That's difficult to see that. But Gardner, though, all I know is that he spun. He's lost a lot of time. Nowakowski and everybody else goes through as well. All that traffic, that is just a heartbreaker. Here we ride on board. Oh, that's difficult to judge, Jack. I don't even want to judge that. There's a reason why I don't study law.
Yeah, I'd probably say that's a bit of a racing incident. Neither of them saw each other. And I think Luis Paulo Gallen was just trying to get onto the racing line, and obviously Griffin Gardner was in his blind spot. The same for Griffin Gardner. He had Luis Paulo Gallen in his blind spot. Ross Rizzo now down onto pit lane. That is going to mean that Riccardo Ferreira cycles back through to your race lead. So Ross Rizzo back out and going. That is now everyone making pit stops. So no one taking the strategy of trying to go to the end without having to bring their car down for a service.
Yeah, I know you said it wasn't possible. There was still a 1% hope in me that Ross Rizzo was not going to in this race. Just make it entertaining. Would have been like the 2011 Indy 500 with J.R. Hildebrand. I don't mean to bring up bad memories for J.R. Hildebrand, but he didn't end up winning that race. They come through turn 5. Wayne Burke is right behind the driver of Evan Marion here. Oh, Evan Marion's made a mistake. Wayne Burke could find himself into P8 here. And another position for Wayne Burke. The sim racing OG is having a great event so far.
Indeed, so Wayne Burke moving himself up another position, and SRC Esports are never an easy team to get round, but the Synergy Sim Racing driver making it look like a breeze. And obviously Evan Marion, turn 5, strikes again. 7 more laps after this are going to be remaining in this race for everyone out on circuit. And well, as we come down into the closing stages, Johnny, still a few battles left out on track. One between David Nowoski and Nicholas Laubich for P number 6. There is also the battle for P number 8 going on, which we've just seen. Carlos Diego is going to be involved in that one as well. He's currently running down in 10th. He's not had a great day, actually. He's going to lose a lot of points.
He's going to lose the championship lead, of course, if he continues this way. Good thing is, though, P10 still a lot of points on offer. 56 compared to P number 2 for Rusens, which is 75 points. Heading through the S's, and possibly more points for Dieguez. Let's not forget that. He's looking good at this stage of the race. And let's see where he ends up. Griffin Gardner, though, we know he had that spin, Jack. He's behind him, P11. And, yeah, lost a lot of time. Same for Luca Fioravanti, who's all the way down in... Where is he now? P19. He's pitted twice. Luca Fioravanti.
Yes. I wonder what's gone wrong there. He pitted a lap ago. Wonder whether he actually picked up some damage somewhere, which is mean he's had to make 2 pit stops. I'm going to go and have a look for you. There was some laps which weren't recorded, so I'd probably guess that he's had a bit of an issue, and that's dropped him down the field. Of course, he's the person with the most positions lost today, minus 15 on where he started. He's starting at P4, now currently P19. And for Griffin Gardner as well, he had the pace in qualifying starting in P number 2, currently running in P number 11. But for Riccardo Ferreira, so far, touch wood, he's still leading, and he's led all the way since the start.
Yeah, good event from Riccardo Ferreira. And exactly what you need. If you're a driver who's racing the VRS GT World Championship, these warm-up events are good. And you have a lot of pace, a lot of confidence going into those races. He's got a few lap traffic cars ahead. John Roberts, who is all the way down P22 at the moment, about to be lapped. So has to make his way through without hassle, without trouble. But look at Kenny Rusens in the camera shot. He's not out of the race so far, Jack. He still has a couple of wild cards maybe in his hands. Who knows?
It only takes one mistake from Riccardo Ferreira, and very quickly He's got Kenny Rosen's back onto his tail and the 333 SRT racing machine, and that's all he needs. Lights ablaze for Ricardo Ferreira, having a bit of a Bo Albert moment, trying to get his way past John Roberts. John Roberts going to let him have the position nice and easily. Nice respectful racing from those two, as we like to see in this series. But Kenny Rosen, he's actually going to catch John through the S's, and I wonder whether Kenny's going to lose quite a lot of time because of it.
Yeah, let's have a look. No, we'll see. I thought you said the final corner for a second. You said the S's. They're coming through turn number 1 now. He could actually catch him through turn 6, although I say that. Very short run down to turn 1. Roberts gets out of the way. All the kids watching in the world, that is how you let a leading car through. If you're too slow in this race, get out of the way. Let the faster guys through. Brilliant stuff by John Roberts.
Indeed, so Kenny Rosen's nice and easy around that driver, although the gap to the lead has gone out to around 1.5 seconds now. Battle for position number 3 up on your screen. John Piesnik and Luis Paulo Gallen. Paulo Gallen is up 5 positions away. He started. John Piesnik is up 4, so both have had good races, making up positions from other people's mistakes. And well, Luis Paulo Gallen, I have a feeling he's going to want to make that +6 in the remaining 4 minutes.
Yeah, definitely he's getting close here, isn't he? Through 6 and 7. Long straight here. Let's look at Luis Paulo Gallen. Unfortunately, the draft as well, we spoke about it. It's not as effective here. And hopefully no lap cars ahead of him. We're looking behind John Piesnik's Element Motorsport car in that McLaren. The McLaren doing well, which I'm surprised about. Jack, one of the contrarians, John Piesnik, electing to use that McLaren MP412C and doing quite well. He could have a podium here unless Luis Paulo Gallen snatches that away from him.
Yeah, John Piesnik is a master. He was always a master of the Ford GT until it turned into a bit of a pogo stick. He's obviously found another car which he enjoys driving, and the McLaren, it's good to see it out. Flames ablaze behind that number 555 machine of John Piesnik as Luis Paulo Gallen looks into turn number 3. Not going to even attempt it. That's a very brave move into there, because if you can get yourself up the inside, you've got a good chance of getting past. As Carlos Dieguez actually looking like he's hit issues. He's very slow for that final corner.
He certainly is. And
he's spun in turn 11 by the looks of it.
Oh, no, turn 11's that corner. The uphill rise, of course, as well. How does he do this one? We'll have a look at a replay hopefully shortly, but Carlos Dieguez there in that 999 car. Just unfortunately, you don't want that as well. You want that championship momentum in the early rounds. He's in the Audi, though. The Audi's difficult to drive, Jack. I'm not sure how much experience you have in them.
I did drive them when I first started driving GT3 machines. I'm not a big fan of them now. I much prefer driving the Mercedes. That's my GT3 car to go to, as the battle for 3rd position still is going on. But David Norwowski in the 86 is getting involved in this one as well. You can see everyone just starting to filter themselves through nice and cleanly. This is also the battle for the lead has once again stopped. 2 more laps remaining in this race, so not long for these drivers now to be able to sort themselves out, as John Piesnik has managed to gap Luis Paulo Gallen just a little bit, and David Norwowski now is going to be left to pick up the pieces. So Luis Paulo Gallen, not sure he's actually going to be close enough in this very, very final moments of this race to be able to make a move to get onto the podium and get past John Piesnik.
David's had a good race, though. It's had a very good race. And we kept an eye on him. He's tried to stay out of as many incidents as he can. Has a striking sky blue livery, that Triton racing car. What's your favorite livery out there, apart from Luis Paulo Gallen?
I must admit, I do love Luis Paulo Gallen's. And actually, I know we saw it at the start of the race. We can't go and have a look at it now because he's out of the race. Simon Feigel's, it's very simple, but you can always spot it because not many people have those colours.
What, just pure white?
Yeah, it's sort of a white silver. Not many teams have those colours. We see a lot of blue, a lot of yellow. Yeah, it looks quite nice actually.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is though, in sim racing, chrome doesn't really translate as well. When you see the real world chrome, like I remember the first time I ever went to a Formula 1 race, and I used to think that McLaren chrome was like, oh, just boring and whatever. When you see it in real life, man, is that a sick color. You know, and it's great to see the silver arrows of the Mercedes sort of carrying a little bit of that. Those McLarens, the Vodafone McLaren Mercedes back in 07 to 2010, whenever Vodafone left, and onwards as well, before they became orange, they were really cool. So, yeah, you're right. I like that by Simon Feigl. He's trying to probably be as professional as he can with that Altus Esports team now. He's picked up the chrome. He wants that Mercedes sponsorship.
Indeed so. The white flag has flown for Ricardo Ferreira. He is currently making his way up to turn number 6. Nice static shot for you there of the S's. They're going to be those drivers are going to be navigating it for the final time. Unlucky 13 for most, but lucky 13 for Ricardo Ferreira today. He's had a quiet day up at the front. Led from the start, only losing the lead when everyone decided to bring themselves down into the lane. Kenny Roosens was not able to match the pace, and well, the battle for position number 3 is still going on. Keep an eye on that one. You can see it just in the background. If you look very closely, John Peasnick, I think, is going to be able to hold off Luis Paulo Gallen as they come down into the 10A, 10B chicane for the final time. But Ricardo Ferreira going to be exiting 10B under the Suzuki Bridge for the final time, down the hill and through the final right-hander. Nice, easy race. Follow Me Esports and Ricardo Ferreira going to win round number 3 of the International GT3 Championship as lights ablaze. Kenny Roosens going to come home in second, taking over the championship lead, I believe, from Carlos Dieguez in for SRT Esports. John Peasnick as well, holding off Luis Paulo Gallen in the closing stages to come home in third. Everyone else going to be bringing themselves across the line in the final stages. Few battles still to finish themselves off. Philip Worley going to hold off Victor Smrojak in the closing stages, and Reese Gukil as well going to hold off Jacob Shuley. I believe that is going to be everyone. Once most people have come across the line, we will take you down to your race spot finishing positions. Ricardo Ferreira taking the win by 1.7 seconds for Follow Me Esports over Kenny Roosens. Going to be coming his Mercedes home in second. McLaren MP412C of John Peasnick going to finish in third and round out your podium for round number 3 at Road Atlanta. Luis Paulo Gallen going to finish fourth. David Norwowski in 5th. Nicholas Laubish in 6th. And Ross Rizzo in 7th. Wade Bourke in 8th. Evan Marin in 9th. And Griffin Gardner in 10th. Johnny, take us through the next 10.
So Phil Worley in 11th. Good race from him. Same for Victor Schmolzak and Reese Guchel as well. Reese up a lot of positions during that event, of course. Gabriel Schooley ended up in the 14th position. A few drama for him. Lost a few positions during that event. Carlos Dieguez, of course, we know what happened with him. The spin at turn 11 towards the end of the event cost him some vital points for that championship. Hugo Preto as well. Could have finished a lot higher. Involved in a couple of incidents. Jacobo Sigoli in 17th. Good event from him as well. Oliveira, Fiovaranti, and Paul Mansell round out your top 20.
Martin Silvassi going to bring his Trick Sim Sports BMW home in 21st position. John Robertson 22nd. Clint Shane Smith, the league admin for the series, 3 laps down, going to bring his car home in 23rd. Non-finishers are going to be Guy Leach, Darrell Carter, Simon Feigl, Joshua Skin, Adam Briggs, Brad Watson, David Van Broek, Amory Bondwell, and Lawrence de Rijk. That is your 32 car field. We're going to step aside for just a moment here on RaceSpotTV, and we will be back for post-race coverage of the round 3 of the International GT3 Championship at Road Atlanta. You do not want to go anywhere.
So, you want to race in NASCAR. The road starts here. Introducing the eNASCAR Ignite Series powered by iRacing. This is the gateway for all aspiring 13 to 16-year-olds. Starting June 20th, ignite your dreams of one day racing in the top tiers of NASCAR. Go to www.iracing.com/ignite for full details.
1 hour of racing has been and gone as quick as you can say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and well, we're here for post-race coverage of the International GT3 Championship at Road Atlanta, and we are stood by with Ricardo Ferreira, and he won round number 3. And well, Ricardo, first of all, congratulations. Was today a case of just making sure everything is dialed in for the World Championship Series that's coming up later on today?
Sorry.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Sorry.
Yeah, there we go. Obviously, first of all, congratulations on your win today at Road Atlanta. Was today a case of just making sure everything is prepared for the World Championship race that's coming up in a few hours' time?
Yeah, of course. Practice a lot in the week. I always miss my qualify session, so I try to make a good qualify here to start in first position, and yeah, I can put the car on P1 and just made my job all the time.
And of course, the circus rolls on to Spa in just a week's time. It's an endurance race. Is it going to be a slightly different approach to that one, because you know it's going to be double the length? It's a 2-hour-long race.
Yeah, well, I will practice to Spa, but right now I'm just focused on Road Atlanta. I didn't practice yet at Spa, so I don't know, mate. I will try to do my best, and I don't know, made our job, me and my team, of course.
And of course, looking forward to that World Championship Series race. What are your hopes going into that one? What position do you think your Follow Me Esports team can salvage?
Well, we will try to make our job, and first just made races, and in the end we will see what position we can make.
And well, before we go and let you celebrate your win with your team and get ready for the virtual racing school GTI Racing World Championship coming up in a few hours' time, who would you like to give a shout out to today?
Okay.
Well, there's... Oh, go on.
Sorry, Jack. I have problems here, so I have to go. Thanks for the transmission. Big hug to everyone.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there is your winner today from Road Atlanta, Ricardo Ferreira, and the number 13 Audi of Follow Me Esports, Johnny Simon, is stood by with second place finisher of SRT Esports, Kenny Roosens.
Yeah, I think Ricardo needed to go to the toilet or something. It was a long race, which is why he had to leave abruptly. Kenny Roosens, though, he stuck around. He came home in the second position. I have to say, Kenny, your move on Griffin Gardner in the opening laps was incredibly aggressive, and I loved it. Excellent move there. Talk about that.
Yeah, I choked a bit in quali, and I know that I was very fast on the first lap with the Mercedes, and my objective was to follow Ricardo, and I just overtook on the second lap Griffin to try to follow Ricardo, but sadly Ricardo has a bit better pace with the tire rear, and yeah, he was a bit too fast on the end, so I couldn't overtake him, sadly.
Yeah, and I mean, does that get frustrating? Does that get in your head when you can't overtake a driver like that? It didn't seem like the slipstream was doing too well for any other driver out there as well.
Yeah, I mean, slipstream was very helpful for me to follow Ricardo, and then when I lost the slipstream, I wasn't able to follow him. So yeah, the slipstream is pretty good here.
I have to say as well, next round at Spa in just a week's time. Spa is a track that the setup is extremely challenging at Spa. You want the straight line speed, but you don't want to lose too much time through that middle sector. Are you okay? How's your history like at Spa?
Yeah, I'm okay. I like Spa, but sadly I will be in holidays, so I won't be able to race at Spa, but my teammate will try for me.
Nice. You'll take that as your drop round, of course. You'll get 2 of those per season, so you'll be back ready to go in round 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There you go, Jack. Kenny Roosens, brilliant result from him. Comes home in second, extends his championship lead as well, which is, takes the championship lead, I should say. Brilliant.
He does indeed. And Kenny, just before we let you go, Kenny, who would you like to give a shout out to today?
To everyone in the team, Amaury, Evan, to help me for the setup, because I don't make the setup this week. I don't have a lot of time, then they make a very good setup. So yeah, and to our sponsor, and you for the broadcast, and Cleans for the organization.
There is your second place finisher, Kenny Rusens, bringing his SRT Esports Mercedes home nice and safely. And well, we've got one more driver to catch up with, and that is the third place finisher in the McLaren, the only McLaren on the field, and that is John Piesnik. John, first of all, congratulations on the podium, and just take us through what it's like in the McLaren, because that is a completely different beast to what all the other cars are here at Road Atlanta. We know it has a slight issue with snap oversteer. Did you have anything like that today?
Yeah, thanks again for that. To be honest, it's not its preferred circuit due to some of the high-speed corners, and yes, a little bit of the snap oversteer. But to be honest, the car was pretty good for 70% of the race. But yeah, as the car, the tyres wore, as you could probably see, I was a fair bit loose. So yeah, it was sort of just managing it and trying to bring it home. So I was a bit lucky with a few little incidents, but so I'll take it. So.
And, of course, you made yourself up 4 positions today. You started 7th, finished 3rd. What's it like overtaking at Road Atlanta? Because we know it's quite a tight and twisty course. There's only a few overtaking spots.
Yeah, there's not a huge amount. Obviously, the chicane at the end of the back straight is the main one, but I wasn't really able to get a good run out of the onto the back straight. So I had to sort of do it in some different spots. So obviously, the overtake at the last corner wasn't really planned, but the gap sort of come there, so I just sort of took it and hoped for the best, and it worked. But the other positions were obviously due to other people's errors with sort of tyre wear and stuff, so I was a little bit lucky, but I'll still take it.
And of course, looking forward to Spa, that is surely somewhere where you know that the McLaren is going to be strong with that straight line speed.
Yeah, it should work good there. There's a couple of little areas where it's still a little bit tricky, but being night and being a little bit cooler should hopefully help it in a little bit. So overall, it should be a pretty decent package there, so I'll look forward to that one.
And of course, before we go and let you celebrate your podium with your team, who would you like to give a shout out to today?
I'll just give a shout out to Element Motorsports. Obviously, just a very small team, but we still managed to get the results once we put our mind to it. So well done, boys, and just keep it up.
John Piesnik, your 3rd place finisher today. And well, before we wrap up, Johnny, give us a very quick rundown of what you thought of that race.
Well, quite progressive. It wasn't as chaotic as Zolder, of course, but it was a good event in terms of driving standards. Some good close battles for the P1 there in the end between Rusens, of course, and Ferreira. Close finish, only 1.7 seconds separated after 1 hour, and hopefully we'll get a bit of that going on during Spa in the endurance race, so you can see the results on screen, of course. Ferreira Rusens 1.7 seconds, like we mentioned. Good to see as well. I liked that event from David Nowakowski in P5. Didn't get to speak to him after the race. And brilliant event, of course, from Ross Rizzo and the original gangster Wayne Burke, who came home in the 8th position. A guy who I always spoke about, Jack. It's great to see these names from so many years ago still around in sim racing, still passionate about this esport.
It is indeed. That's about all we got time for here on RaceSpotTV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Before we go, as the remaining races come up on your screen, we'll be heading to Spa in 1 week's time. And then after that, the first Super Sprint round on July the 28th at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And also some great events coming up throughout the rest of the season. Before we go, let's give a shout out to everyone who gets it done here at RaceSpotTV. Our track cameras are supplied by Istvan Balau and TrackCams22.com. Go and check his work out and go and see why we like them so much. Your overlay is designed by the great Andreas Werner of Anduin Design, and the engineering behind it and the development is by Simon Grossman from @engineering.com. Live timing is, as always, provided by Nick Thyssen over on RaceSpotTV/timing. I have been Jack Stiles. That guy over there has been Johnny Simon. Hugo Luis has been behind the cameras, and in 1 week's time, you do not want to miss. We will be under the lights at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes Forest for 2 hours of action with the International GT3 Championship. And don't forget, in just a few hours' time, coming your way here on RaceSpotTV, the Virtual Racing School GTI Racing World Championship from Road Atlanta. We hope you are ready. That is not going to be a race you want to miss. Will Vincent, Paul Smith, and Randy Chenworth will be bringing you all the action. But from us here at the International GT3 Championship, we will bid you a very goodbye and see you in a few hours, ready for the VRS GTI Racing World Championship.